Hi, everyone. My name is Anthony Cruz III, and I am the publisher of the Capital Sports Report. I am also the host of the Capital Sports Report Live. I'm going to play a little video before we bring in our guest tonight. And welcome to the show tonight, Tom Fox Jr., Northeast Division I top alcohol dragster driver. And this weekend, he won the Wally at the divisional at Atco Dragway, just minutes away from his house.
Yes, that's correct. Thank you.
Tom, how did you get started in racing for our audience who may not know you?
Well, so the story goes back to the late 60s and early 70s when my dad and his brother campaigned a front engine top fuel dragster. So their claim to fame is that they raced Don Garlits twice and they beat him twice. So my dad tuned, my brother Ed was the driver, and Bob Toth, who was with us here this weekend in the finals for our championship dinner, was also there, and they kind of started a bond that lasted a lifetime. And, my dad sold the car, raised a family, and in the early 90s, we got back involved helping a guy by the name of Ned Ott. And Ned Ott owned his own car. We helped him tune it. We took him to a national event win at the Keystone Nationals at Maple Grove back in 1997. And then we've had other people drive for us. John Rose Jr. drove two event wins, two Wallies in the regional series back in the late 90s. And we tuned for a few other people. And then I got an opportunity to step into a car because Paul Sylvester, who we were helping at the time, decided that he was hanging it up. And I got in the car, and 6 passes later, I got my license, and I've been hooked ever since.
Wow. Your family has a lot of history in the sport of drag racing, and that's pretty amazing.
Thank you.
Did you envision when your father and your uncle was racing in the 60s, did you envision growing up, this is what I may do as well?
You know what? You never really know. They sold the car when I was like 6. Okay. So I saw it. I remember sitting it kind of, and I really remember more of the pictures of it, and never really thought that that was going to be something that I get into. And, when you start working on the car and you start with getting your hands dirty and you work on the clutch and you do the bottom end and you put fuel in the car and you help your dad. And then we started building our own motors. And then I said, you know what, maybe I could do this, but never got the opportunity. So when it presented itself, it was something that I felt really good about. Hey, I know how this car works from the inside. I've never, ever been down the drag strip. And the first time I got in the car, I said to my dad, that's not really that fast. And what he told me after my 3rd pass, when I was in and out of the throttle about 6 times and I couldn't believe the difference, he said, what I didn't tell you is I had a throttle step on there, and that pass was full throttle. I said, holy smokes, that was a lot. And you know what? It makes a difference. And, I learned how to drive a fast car when I was, just 2012 is the first time I ever got behind the wheel. And I never had been down the drag strip before then. So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, a decade in the sport.
Yes.
Because we're in 2022 now. So 2012 to 2022, a whole decade of racing.
Yes.
When the opportunity came, you said that you got the ride from Paul Sylvester. He was getting ready to retire, and he offered the extended opportunity to you. Was there like some hesitation of, let me think about it, or you were like, yeah, I'm going to do it?
I was ready, Anthony. I was ready to try it. I didn't know whether I could, and it's interesting, right? There's races where you go really fast in qualifying, and then you don't do well in eliminations. And I've
Yes.
had a lot of really close losses, and I've had a lot of races that maybe as a driver I lost, or maybe my reaction time lost, or maybe the car wasn't right. But gradually, my dad and I have been connecting on the use of technology, keeping better records, trying to do things that make scientific sense instead of just trying to go as fast as you can. And, smoking the tires, is not always the right way to go about it.
Correct. Because then you lose in the first round, second round, or whatever round you're in, and your day's done.
Exactly. So this past weekend, we were in a similar situation. We had struggled in qualifying. I mean, it was 100+ degree
Yes.
temperature. The track temp was up over 137. It was sun on it, and we smoked the tires 3 qualifying passes in a row. We made some small changes, and we thought it would be enough. And Saturday night, we found ourselves qualified last. And, we really felt good going into Atco that we had, a fast race car. We knew that we could compete, and we were disappointed. So my dad and I made some changes, and, we agreed on some things that we don't always agree on.
Okay.
And we faced Karen Stalba in round 1, and she was the number 1 qualifier, and she ran consistent 530s through the event. And it really looked like a David and Goliath matchup. But we did our job. We did our homework. We made some clutch changes, some fuel changes, some timing changes, all little things. And all of them amounted to setting low ET for the meet, beating the number 1 qualifier in round 1, and earning a bye into the final. So it felt really good when I talked to my dad at the end of the track, and I said, Dad, you know what? We agreed on those changes. We did some things that made some good sense, and it wound up being a good first round for us with the great upside potential.
Before I get into the Atco win, I would like to ask you, what's it like for you to race with your family, especially your dad involved in the race team?
Well, you know what? It's really special. There's a lot of families that are in drag racing, and,
Yes.
and we've become close with some of those father-son or father-daughter teams. And it's an opportunity that, I'll share it in this fashion because it puts some context to it. A good friend of mine and a nostalgia tuner who owns a speed shop down in Virginia, Matt Stamball, came and helped us one weekend down in Virginia. And my dad was rather vocal that weekend about how I was driving or what we were doing. And we didn't do well the first day. And Matt turned around and said to me, he said, Tom, I'd give anything to hear my dad yell at me again. His father had passed away a few years before. And it sank in that bond that we share, the experiences that we're making. And it's not always about winning. It's about the experience. It's about working hard to accomplish something. And we've had some really good runs. I mean, we represent one of only 3 other cars that have gone in the 5 teens in the quarter mile. We ran a 5:19 in Gainesville a couple years ago, and that was like a moonshot. Everyone across the country knew that we made that run, and it was fantastic. It was powerful, and it was another reason to keep charging on. And, little by little, we've gone a little bit faster. We've been a little bit more consistent, but my dad is probably my toughest critic. He's the hardest on me. But the hug that he gave me at the end of the track when we won at Atco was powerful.
But you expect that as a father, where he's your toughest critic. It's always your parents that are your toughest critic out of someone that compared to someone else.
Well, I agree. And what I've learned over the years is that my dad has said really good things to many people through the years about what I've done and how we work on the car together and how I drive and those things. But doesn't always let you know that. So My mom comes out to the track. My sister comes out to the track. My kids have been out a few times. It's not their thing. They're more into sports. They're finishing. I have boy-girl twins that are 21 and they're seniors. They're rising seniors going into Kutztown. So, it's neat when your family can be there to support you. It's neat when, my work, and you see in the background the Annie Mac community mortgage team that I work for. They came on board to sponsor us, and this was the first race with the new wrap, and we had them all out on Friday, and they saw the car and heard the car, and it was awesome, but we didn't perform well, but they still got to see the experience of everything. And there's a lot of work that goes into this. People in drag racing that only see the glory, they don't see the long hours. They don't see the engine building, the service of the car, taking the car apart, the trailer, cleaning the tractor, the trailer, the motorhome, all of the things that, there's a big crew and there's a lot of people to help. But as a father-son team, we do a lot ourselves, and then we have some people that help us.
Speaking of Annie Mac, the new dragster is called Cash 2 Keys, the sponsorship.
Yes.
But from what I've been told, now you can verify this, that I've been told that your car before this race was front halved by Richie Crampton.
Yes.
And basically you had a new car going into this event.
Yeah. So Anthony DeSario did a new carbon fiber body with us with Brian Greer out in Indianapolis. And Richie Crampton, who in his rookie year won the U.S. Nationals, and he drove for Coletta and their team. He was under the mentorship of Brad Hadman, who originally built this chassis that we have. So we had the car front halved. We had the body redone. It lowered the weight of the total car. It made it a little bit stronger. And, we had to figure out how it worked. And we made a couple tweaks to the car. And we did some things on Saturday. We moved some weight around. And they gave us a great race car. We just had to figure out how to do it. So Chris Menopis did a lot of the new wiring for us on the chassis. He works with Frank Manzo's team on the Pro Mod car. And he dedicated some time to help us get set up with the chassis, all of the components for the computer and all. So it was neat to have that. And it really gave me some confidence going into this weekend.
This weekend, like you said earlier, you defeated Karen Staba in the first round.
Yes.
Then you got a bye in the semifinals.
That's correct.
And then in the final round, you faced Danny Dietrich, who actually has a previous win at Atco, and he smoked the tires.
Yeah, so it was my first final ever. It's interesting. Saturday, going into eliminations, I felt really relaxed. I felt at peace. I'm like, I'm just going to do my job. I'm going to race my lane. And I took my time staging against Karen. I wasn't in a rush. And I felt good about how we handled that. So going into the final, I did my burnout. I backed up. I told myself it's just another qualifying round. It's no pressure. It's not a big deal. Yeah. And, I pulled up into the pre-stage beam and I pulled my visor down and I turned the computer on and I got ready. And Dan brought his R's up right away. And then I brought my R's up and bumped in. And when we swapped feet, my car instantly smoked the tires. And I thought, well, you know what? It was nice to be here for my first Wally attempt. I guess this one's slipping away from me. And then I saw Dan start to haze the tires about 60 foot out. So I got back in it. And when I got back in it, it smoked the tires again. And I got out of it and I let the car settle. But I saw Dan was still hazing the tires. He still had his foot in the throttle, but he was starting to pull away from me. And I said, no, this one's mine. And I got back in the throttle. I squeezed it instead of slapping it down. And I ran it all the way up to the shift point in first gear and hit second and ran it up again. And even after having to pedal the car 3 times, I was able to go through the traps at 263 mile an hour, 6.7 seconds for the win. and it was amazing. But that seemed like it took forever. And I watched him pulling away from me, and I'm like, no. And I pulled it back in. So the way I've been thinking about it myself is that I stole victory from the hands of defeat.
Yes. Speaking of that final, for those that do not know that are listening and watching this or watch this later, Tom's team is based in Cinnaminson, New Jersey.
That's right. That's where we keep.
He lives in Chemung, New Jersey.
Yeah.
And that is just minutes away from Atco Dragway.
That's right.
So what was it like to winning at home?
Oh, it's where I got my license. It was my home track. So as you started to say earlier, right? Annie Mac is a company I work for. They sponsored us.
Yes.
But Cash to Keys is the program that they created to turn ordinary home buyers into full cash offer buyers. So all across the country, we're sharing this program. So if anybody out there listening is thinking about buying a home or wants to refinance, Annie Mac and the community mortgage team and Tom Fox will give you a special discount if you mention Anthony Caruso. Right? And certainly if anybody reaches out to you, Anthony, it would be great. We'd love an opportunity to share that with them. But it was an emotional win. It was something that I've won match races, and I've beat guys in qualifying that were faster than us. And, you know, we struggled sometimes. Like I had never beat Karen Stauba in eliminations until Saturday, and I had never beaten Dan Dietrich in eliminations until Saturday. But both of those wins came at, you know, whatever I needed to do to win. And in front of my home crowd, in front of my family and friends. And we had people, all sorts of people from Annie Mac, you know, in the mortgage business. I had realtors that I work with come out to support me. And that support just made me feel, you know, very happy that I'm able to share this with them. But my mindset and my position and thoughts as a driver are a little different now, right? You mature, the more you do it, the more you learn. I felt like I grew a lot as a driver this weekend, and I felt like this was just our time. You know, my dad was so happy. There was a picture that I put on my Facebook post with one of our crew guys, Luke Ellis, jumping up into the air, my dad clapping his hands.
Yeah, and you said, who's excited more?
Right. And you know what? It's just one of those things that, you know, this is not a pro sport. We're at the top of the food chain for, you know, the sportsman rank, they call it, right? The top alcohol dragster class. And we've been over 270 plus mile an hour and covered the quarter mile in as little as 5.19 seconds. But everybody that works on our car is a volunteer. We have some sponsors. Annie Mac stepped up behind us this year and put their name on the car, you know, which was great to have. VP Fuel has been with us for several years, and they sponsor us with fuel. I was just down there in the Delaware location the other day picking up fuel, and, you know, we were all able to talk and connect as people, not just as a sponsor, right? Yes. DJ Safety did my fire suit, right? I don't know, for those of you that do or don't know, Ben Conant, who was a legend of the sport, passed away because of COVID earlier this year, and he made my fire suit and supported us. And, you know, it's people like that continue. They made our parachutes to keep us safe when we slow down. Jeff Chudoff over at Fast Signs in Maple Shade did the wrap for us. We talked about it. He came over on Tuesday before the Atco race with his team, and they put the graphics on. So if anybody needs graphics out there, Fast Signs in Maple Shade, please go to them, right? Olson Machine has been there for us for years. They help us with machining our equipment and our parts. Rick Middleton has helped us with support. Troy, who was, you know, friends of friends and kind of connected us, he was there to support us. Transaxle, where my dad works, and we have like a little side hustle where we do construction in a warehouse. NGK, Spark Plugs, NGK Racing, Penn Grade Oil. They supported us with oil for the last couple seasons to keep the car safe and fast. Frank DeBello, who did trailer work for us and put all new axles and tires and wheels on our trailer so that, you know, we could be safe no matter where we're traveling. Brad Anderson, Randy Anderson, Norm Grimes, and then all of our crew, Luke Ellis, Brian List, Joe and his wife. And, one of the families that help us, their son passed away earlier this year from cancer. So JJ, I said to his dad, Joe Pollock, I said, Joe, this one's for JJ. And, when we were done at the end of the track, he pointed up into the air and we hugged, and it was like, JJ was there for us. And, my dad, without him, he's the heart of this team. Without him, we wouldn't be here. He's driven, he's passionate, he's always there, and at 72 years old, he'll be 73 this month. He's got a work ethic nobody else I know, but he's so passionate about it and so driven by it that it makes everybody better. He does yell at me a lot, though, Anthony. I will tell you, that's a little tough to handle sometimes. And I'll share a funny story with you. One of the teams came over to us one night. We were working on a car late, and they're like, Tommy. And, they're kind of joking around, calling my name. And I'm working on the car, and they go over to my dad. And my dad says, hey, guys, why are you picking on my son? And they said, oh, we're not picking on your son, Tom. We're picking on you for yelling at him. And it kind of made him listen to it a little bit, but he's a good guy. He definitely has everybody's safety and best interest in mind. He wants to go fast every pass. But without him, I couldn't do it. And, there's so many people, that, like, if you look down, I'll just show you quick the winner circle picture. I don't know if you guys will be able to see it or not, but from Atco, and that's a picture of the car and the whole crew there. Everybody was just loving on it. And I got so many calls and, feedback from past, guys that we've driven with or raced with or that have driven for us or friends. But, my sister Cheryl, her husband Brett, her daughter Kelsey backed the car up on Saturday. She did an amazing job. She's like a new backup girl, but she's a soccer player and an athlete, and she just did amazing. My cousin Donnie and Renee came up from Florida to help us. Scott Maida has been with us off and on through the season. A guy that I grew up with, Marty Russick, they all came together. And then we made some special friends at Maple Grove this year. So,
are you talking about Josh Haskett?
Well, Josh we've been friends with for a while, but Josh is a very good friend of ours. And, he just lost his father to COVID, but Josh is a good friend of ours. But Jack Stewart and his daughter Rachel drives a mini dragster, the junior dragsters now. And she came over and they came over one day and we sat him in the car at Maple Grove. And Jack Stewart said, you know what, listen, if you need a hand anytime, we'll help you. Well, he's been at the last couple races and he's a good guy to have around. So I wanted to mention him too. And, we just had an amazing weekend. And a couple of the guys that have raced with us before, like Brian Golick, is now running a funny car. Yeah. And, with Luchro and Bobby helps him out, and they all came over and they were so happy for us. And there's Phil Bergheiser. Thanks, Phil. Congratulations to the whole team. Listen, we appreciate it. He's helped us out when we've been out in Ohio. So one of the things I'll show you here on the side of that, well, that's the flag, but here's the LLS, the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. I don't know if you could see it, but it's the heart, right? Yes. So we had an opportunity to do a fundraiser with Leukemia and Lymphoma Society a couple years ago. And we were able to raise over $300,000 to fund 6 blood cancer research grants. So one of the things that we've done is we've connected with people and families that have gone through cancer, that have had trials and tribulations with either losing children or have gone through it and came out on the other side. And we put them in the race car and we have them come out and we share some time with them and their family. So, we try to give back a little bit because we're proud to be able to do this together. It's a family atmosphere and we share it with other families.
Yes. And I've seen other people actually do that as well, where they'll put kids in the dragster or I've seen where some of the top fuel teams where they'll not on like a national event, but I've seen them at like a grudge race, or like they just had the night under fire in Norwalk on the night, and they may sorry about that. They may like have like someone else warm it up, and that will give them the person that is warming it up is like a special moment for them.
Yeah. And you know what? It's nice to be able to share that because, as the more times we do it, the more it becomes commonplace, right? But
Yes.
there's only, a handful of people in this world have driven race cars more than 270 mile an hour.
Yes.
And I'm privileged to be able to say that I've done that. And I do it with my dad. So it's really cool. There's long drives out to, the races. And my dad loves Chuck Berry. So Friday night after qualifying, when we were, finishing up our night, we put on some Chuck Berry, and having a cold beer with Pop sitting on the table, listening to some Chuck Berry was pretty cool.
Yes. This weekend, for those that do not know, not only did Tom and his father win the race, well, Tom won, but his father is a part of the team. But you had Matt Gill, who's won the Atco Divisional several times, with his father also winning. That was a special moment for you, two sons and two fathers, to share that victory moment together.
Yeah, so we actually had an opportunity to pull both the dragster and the funny car into the winner's circle after we did our pictures together. And the four of us, Matt and Paul, my dad, Tom, and I, together in the winner's circle, holding our trophies up with our dads and our race cars nosed in together. And it was pretty cool because we've become close friends with those guys, and we've helped each other out. There's times they've helped us. There's times we've helped them. But, when it's a family atmosphere, it's kind of good to be able to share that stuff together with your family and your friends.
Yes. And well, as you know, I say every time that I'm at a race, it's like a family, because you guys are so welcoming to me, and you'll say like, you want something to eat? You want something to drink? And it's like a family environment, even for me, even though I only see you guys so many times a year.
Yeah, it's nice. We try to share that as well. And you know what? When spectators come by, we try to always have the hero cards, and we try to give them out, information about the dragster. But we've often, had them come into the pit, and we talk to them about what we're doing, and the team and where we're at and what our car is, and it's neat to be able to share that with people.
Yes. This weekend, you touched on this, and I would like to mention this because in New Jersey, where we are, it's been roasting the past few weeks.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
And at this drag strip on Friday and Saturday, when they were running, it had to be like upper 90s. And if you don't know, these men and women who race these cars have fire suits on, well, especially these top alcohol dragsters and funny cars. They have fire suits on, and they had to be roasting in these things because it likely takes more time to put this gear on than it is for them to actually make a pass in the car.
Yeah, it was really hot. And you know what? When we won, and we're in the winner's circle, and I still had my fire suit pants and boots on. Oh my God, they were soaking wet when I was done at the end of the day. It was in the upper 90s, heat index over 100, track temperature in the upper 130s. So it was definitely a hot one. So, you had to stay hydrated. And listen, you're working around a hot car on a hot day, and everybody's sweating, and you know what? But it's neat when all of this hard work comes together, and you get to share it with friends and family and all those people that are around us.
Did you were talking about hydration, and with the heat so bad like it was, did you take anything, or was not like did you take anything, but like I know some racers, they actually drink Pedialyte on
Well,
hot days.
yeah,
Or instead of like drinking water and Gatorade. Did you have to drink that as well, or did you drink water and Gatorade?
Yeah, well, I drank water, I drank Gatorade, but we also had the hydration tablets that you
Okay.
put into your water. That
Yes.
it's more of the electrolytes without the sugar. Like Gatorade has a lot of sugar in it,
Yes.
right? So sugar is not always a good thing for you. So I try to stay away from soda. So I drink water, a little bit of Gatorade, maybe a little Red Bull before the round, and then a little bit of those hydration tablets because you can't get dehydrated. It's harder to come back from it. It's easier to stay in front of it. But it was hot. There's no doubt about it.
Yes, because what was it last year around this time? Justin actually had to be not pulled, but he had to be removed from his car because it was Pomona, and it was last July, I think it was, and it was like I don't know what the temperature was, but he got dehydrated in the car.
Yep. Once you swap feet, though, and you're going down the track, the air flowing over you and through the chassis definitely cools you off a little bit. But, holding the brake, your foot down on the clutch, bringing the RPM up, getting ready to stage the car. Until you do that, you're really feeling hot, right? And hopefully you can get into your fire suit and you can get all strapped in and pull right down and go. But I've been there on the starting line where somebody had an oil down in front of us and we had a 20-minute wait. And they're like, no, don't get out of the car. We'll be done in a minute. And, really what you should have done is just got out of the car and get strapped back in. Right. But, when it's that hot, you got to be careful because you're focused on the task at hand, but you also have to make sure that you're staying healthy and able to do that because you need to be able to focus. Because, look, the reality of it is driving a race car at 270 mile an hour, when everything is right, it's easy to drive. But when it shakes or it gets out of control, and what people don't know, and we didn't talk much about it, is that after that second qualifier, the steering shaft broke and came right out into my hands. I had no steering. So if I had been 270 mile an hour, I could have crashed. And luckily, I was able to turn the shaft with my hand, and I was able to turn off the track, and a snap ring broke. You're right, a $4 part. But if that had happened during competition, it could have been dangerous. And you know what? Maybe somebody was looking out over my head, but we fixed it, and we were able to finish out the rest of the day without any problems.
With those parts problems, did it make you not really rush, but did it put like more pressure on you for the final round, even though you had more time?
Well, you know what? It was a different focus than we normally would have with the car.
Okay.
But because we decided not to make an additional qualifying pass, right? It gave us more time. So between first and second round, we had a bye. So we were able to work on the car, get it all figured out. And for the final, I put it out of my mind. We were confident that we were ready to go.
What is your plan for the rest of the season? I know we talked earlier and you said that you're going to go to New Egypt, Lucas Oil Raceway for the U.S. Nationals. 2 weeks later, you'll be at Maple Grove. About a week after that, you'll be at Charlotte. And then you'll finish up with a regional/divisional at Virginia. You said that you are a few points away from Jackie Frick, who is leading the points in the Northeast Division. Could things, depending on how she, how her schedule, how she does, kind of dictate how you do? Because you may add races to collect more points.
It's possible. Right now, we're sitting in fourth in the division, but we're only one round away from third and second. So I think Jackie's pretty much got the division locked up, but there's a mathematical opportunity. So if we could, we might chase some more points. But right now we have a few more national events, 3 actually, right, with the U.S. Nationals and then Charlotte and Maple Grove, and then 2 more regionals with Epping, which is towards the end of the month of August, and then first week in October is Virginia. I guess if we were in a points race, if it could change the outcome of our season, maybe we'd go out west. But I think right now we're kind of content with staying, East Coast and just going out to Indy. But who knows, if the right opportunity came around, we might be able to coax to do more races.
The U.S. Nationals is the marquee event for any race.
Yes.
And it used to be like you had to be one of the top drivers to go to this. And now they put in the stipulation of the JEGS All-Stars, which makes the U.S. Nationals even trickier because it has like all the top drivers there. For you being out here in New Jersey, and we lost our former track here at Old Bridgetown State Raceway Park, what's it like for you to go to the U.S. Nationals with all the marquee tied to it?
Well, you know what? It's always been the Super Bowl of drag racing, if you will, right? It's neat to be able to go to what is one of the meccas of the sport and compete there. And we have higher expectations of doing well, and it's neat to get to see some of the racers from the Midwest and the West Coast, because just about everybody who's anybody in drag racing in the top alcohol class is going to be there.
Yes.
So I would expect there to be, 24 or 25 dragsters there competing for 16 qualifying spots. And, I would expect to go out there and qualify. So, if we're running our car well and we're not hurting parts, we're capable of running 20s and 30s. We've been, kind of stuck in the 30s recently, but running a 535 at Atco wound up being low qualifier or low ET of the meet. So we'll take it, right? We're definitely, and it's something powerful about driving the mojo from a win. And so we're excited about the next couple of races for sure.
Speaking of the momentum, you have, like, unfortunately, due to the schedule, like a few weeks off before your next event. But coming off of this win, you would rather, I would think, let's go back out there instead of waiting for this Epping event to come up.
Well, you know what? There's two things that occur, right? One is that we have service work to do on the car. So
Yes.
it gives us a little bit extra time to service the car and make sure it's right and be ready, because then after that, we have 2 weekends back to back in a row with Epping and Indy. So I'll take a couple weeks. We'll regroup. We'll make sure we're good, make sure all of our parts are fresh and everything's ready to go, and then go up to Epping and try and repeat. Wouldn't it be nice to, it's interesting. I went and got my hair cut before Atco, and I said to the girl, would you make me look handsome for the winner's circle pictures? And it was really a joke. I mean, we've been to a lot of races, and, we haven't been to a final round. We've been to semifinals, and we've certainly gone rounds, but we haven't been to our final round. So to win the final in my first final at my home track, it was epic, right? But I think there's something that I said to some of our crew and my dad. I said, Dad, you know what? Let's not just go to Atco. Let's go to win Atco. And when we smoked the tires 3 times on Friday, I said to Jackie Frick, Jackie, I've never smoked the tires 3 times in a row. And she's like, well, you know what that's going to mean? And I said, what? She's like, that means you're going to win tomorrow. And, you have to be able to envision it, in sports, you have to be able to see it. You have to believe it or can dream it, and it can happen. And I feel like there's something a little different about getting your first Wally. Now, maybe that's why they call it drag racing and like it's gambling, right? You get that little adrenaline rush, but yes. I got to tell you, having Wally with you is kind of cool. And, it's funny. We had some friends over for dinner tonight, and we brought Wally out to have dinner with us. And they said, what's this? And we showed them, and, it might be a little goofy to some, but when you've won a Wally, I think people that have won them understand that your first one's kind of special. and it
Yes.
is for our team. And I have 3 other Wallies as a crew guy, but never one as a driver with my dad as the tuner. So this one's mighty special.
Yes, and we got a comment here from Tony Almeida.
Okay. Hey, Tony, thanks so much, man.
You talked about this win in the Wally. For some racers, after they get this monkey off their back, so to speak, of winning, then it feels like not an eternity for them to win again. It feels like they're going to win again sooner than waiting 10 years to get one.
Well, when you've done it the first time, you know it's possible,
Yes.
right? And if you're intuitive about it, and if you think about the things you did well, or the things you did better, or the areas that you focused on, maybe you learn from that. And maybe it makes you smarter towards the next time.
Yes.
And maybe it's about how you stage, or how you prepare mentally, or how you prepare the race car, or things that you do that you didn't do, or things that you do differently. That's something that people have said that to us. So I don't know. I'd love to be able to go out and repeat, but I will value this one a lot. And we work really hard. So there's some teams that have said to us, you guys have earned this one. And by setting low ET of the meet in the first elimination, that was my dad, right? He made all the right decisions to tune the car properly.
Yes.
In the finals, and what people have said to me from watching the video or seeing the pedal job that we had to do and what we did, that was a driver's race, because the driver certainly could have spun the tires and shut the car off, or
Yes.
hurt the car, or didn't catch it. It went right up. So when I pedaled it, earlier on Friday, I would have just stayed out of it, but I got back into it because this was the finals, and I was lucky to beat Dan Dietrich and his team, and Robert and Shane and Bob. Those guys work really hard, and we consider them like family. We'll drink beers together and hang out, and we're both supercharged. So it was nice to have an all supercharged, top alcohol dragster final. It's a shame somebody has to win and somebody has to go home as, without the Wally.
Yes.
But I will certainly take the Wally if my choices are either one.
Are you going to purchase replica Wallies for your team?
Yes, we've already discussed that, my dad and I, and we'd like them to be able to share that and put that up on their mantelpiece or wherever their man cave might be. But we'd like them to be able to have an opportunity to do that.
There is a video on your Facebook page.
Yes.
And it's a video of Division One photographer Diane Kabicki presenting you with the Wally.
Yeah.
Could you talk about that moment when she presented you with that Wally that you have in front of you?
Yeah, you know what? I've known Diane for some time, and we've been friends. And when we were standing there in the winner's circle and my whole crew and everybody was behind the car, I was standing in front of the car, and Diane says, "Tom, come on over here." And they gave me the Lucas Oil event winner cap, and I put that on, and then she hands me she hands on to the Wally, and she turns and she says, "Tom," she's like, it's my opportunity to present you with this Division I Atco regional event trophy. And she talked about the trials and tribulations that she's seen our family and our team go through. She told us that we had grit and perseverance, and she was privileged and honored to be able to hand it to me. And when she handed it to me and I gave her a hug, I can tell you, I honestly got misty. I was emotional. I was happy. I was ecstatic. And I turned around and I hoisted the Wally and I let out a big cheer, and the whole crew went crazy. And yeah, it was just powerful. It was a very special moment. And they say you'll never forget your first one, right? Whether it's the Wallies or other things, but certainly this was good.
I would like to, before I conclude tonight, I would like to mention that Tom works for Annie Mac So can you tell our audience and those who will listen later what you do with Annie Mac?
Sure. So when people are going out to look at homes, I help them get pre-qualified. I help them to get the financing to buy the home. I show them the programs and the products that are available. Sometimes I help people fix their credit. Sometimes I help people right size their expectations for what they can buy. But then I help guide them. I teach them, I educate them on the home buying process. I help them to purchase homes, and I do the financing with Annie Mac, home mortgage, and the cash to keys program. So if anybody needs to buy a home, in fact, we're helping Jake Slater right now, who works on Alexis DeJournet's team, buy a home and out in Indiana. And we're really excited about that opportunity. So Jake, if you're out there listening, buddy, thank you so much for the opportunity to help you. We can help people all across the country, and we're really excited about that opportunity.
So this program is not only here in New Jersey, but all over the country?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. So when you're helping Jake, you obviously got to go out there, right? Or you would, well, that may be during the U.S. Nationals.
Well, but the technology exists that we can talk. We can be on the phone. We can be on the computer. We can help each other from wherever they are. But my talents are able to be used through Zoom or social media or just over the telephone. But I help guide them, and we have programs that help them figure out what they can afford comfortably so that they can buy a home and not be in a position to put them, financially in distress. So we want to be able to help them buy smart, make good decisions financially, and we'll help guide them. So if anybody has a need, I'd love an opportunity to help them.
Tom, how do you juggle your Annie Mac work and your racing work?
Well, there's a little thing called sleep. I get that in bunches between races, but you don't sleep as much when you're racing.
Yes. And when you travel, like for example, earlier this year, and I've known you've done this previously as well, you took the rig to Gainesville, Florida, so you're on the road for a while.
Yeah.
Or when you go to Indianapolis or Epping, New Hampshire, or wherever, any other spot you go to, you are driving for a long period of time. So unless you take a break or your dad drives or someone else drives, you can't focus on your Annie Mac work.
Well, I have a loan partner, Dylan Wiley, who helps me with all of that when I'm traveling. But I always have my laptop. I always have my cordless headset. And as long as I have my phone and my computer, I can help people no matter where I am. And that's the beauty of technology. And then, you know what? It's the use of scheduling your day properly. If you schedule the time to work on the race car, you schedule the time to work on your work, you schedule the time to do the things that are important to you, you can do that. And there's a saying, right? If you have something that needs to get done, you give it to a busy person. Well, you know what? I'm pretty busy. But in addition to that, I help flip homes. So I buy homes, I fix them up, and I sell them. And that's another way to support racing and my kids with college. So I feel very blessed that I'm able to juggle a few things and keep all the balls in the air.
So you're like a flipper.
Yes. Yes.
I think Justin Ashley does the same thing.
He does, yeah. So it's definitely been a good way to earn a living, and it's helped. My family and I have a shore house in Ocean City, a race car that my dad owns, and that I get an opportunity to drive. And we work hard so we can play harder.
Yes. I would like to go back to your schedule for a second.
Sure.
Because coming up here in a little bit, we have like 2 weeks off, but you're going to be on a stretch that's coming up where you're going to have 4 races in like 5 to 6 weeks.
Yes.
How do you deal with that as a driver, as a crew member with the team, where you're not going to be able to, you may not be able to bring your rig back home to get what you need, you're going to have to put everything you have in this rig and take it with you.
Well, you know what? My dad's a big proponent of taking everything you could possibly need, regardless of whether it's Atco or all the way across the country in Bakersfield, California, when we raced out there. So we're always prepared. And I gotta tell you, for somebody that also juggles a lot of things, my dad's always has the parts we need when we hurt something. He's always got something in the trailer to fix it.
Being that Maple Grove is close to home, when we go to that race, the 15th, 16th, 17th, or 18th of September, will you have people from your company there to see you race as well?
Well, we had about 30 people from Annie Mac at Atco, and we'll put the feelers out, and if they want to come, we'll host them. I love to bring new people to the track, because if you see the family atmosphere, you get hooked on drag racing and you see it, from the track or from the starting line, it's easy to get them. If you can get them out to the track, it's easy to get them hooked on the sport. So I love being able to do that and share that with people.
I remember this had to be 12 years ago now. I talked to Terry McMillan for the very first time. And he said to me, when you come out here as a first timer, it's like putting a needle in your arm. And once you put that needle in your arm, it's like you're hooked forever.
Yeah, I would agree.
And that's the way, I feel like I've been covering this sport for 15 years. And it's like, I don't want to cover anything else. Well, I do cover other things, but I don't want to leave drag racing because it's so exciting. And yeah, unfortunately, we've had some. Maybe you heard about them. We've had, over the past 2 weeks, we had 4 fatalities in the sport of racing, and that happens. Unfortunately, we all know the dangers of this sport. Mm-hmm. But it's very exciting to be around this sport and to cover it for you as a driver. It's exciting for you to race. So I'm not, when maybe that fire diminishes for me, maybe I'll stop covering it. But who knows when that's going to be, because I'm still going to cover it.
Well, you know what? You make hay while the sun's shining. And yes, you do what you can, right? You follow your dreams and passions in life. And if you do that, it's not like it's work, right? You're working for your passion, and that makes it different. So, you know what? Keep following your dreams. Keep following your passions.
Yes. Before I go, I would like to ask you this, because you're going to be at the Maple Grove National event.
Yes.
And earlier this year, there was a divisional at Maple Grove, and Michael, you were there for Memorial Day weekend.
Yes.
And that was just weeks after Kenny Koreski and his family purchased that track.
Yes.
What was your thoughts when him and his family purchased that track and saved that track from potentially going to be with a developer for a homes or whatever they were going to do with it?
Well, back in 1997, we won the Keystone Nationals there. And in 98, we won the divisional event there. So it's a very special track. My dad grew up in Pennsylvania. That was technically his home track. And to be able to hoist a Wally in only the second year that I was involved in drag racing, even though I was a crew member, but to be there in the winner's circle and take those pictures, that was something that got me hooked. And I was very proud to say that Maple Grove is still continuing. Kenny Koreski and his family have done an amazing job of keeping that going. And I'm really excited to be able to race there again for the Nationals. And this year when we go there, just like the rest of the races now there's somebody said to me, I think it was Al Blake from Jackie Frick's team, said to me, he's like, now you got the bullseye on your back, Tom. And I said, you know what? I'll take it, because it would be nice to continue to be out there and to continue to go rounds and win. So we all know that it's a sport where there's lots of highs and lows, and it's really, really hard work, and everybody out there is working hard. And, sometimes you got to get a little lucky too. So I feel like I got a little lucky, and I was good enough to get low ET, at Atco. And then we were smart in the buy run, and we just, broke the beams. And then in the final, I had to earn it as a driver. Dan Dietrich did an awesome job of pedaling his car. He was a little bit out further than me than it smoked, and I saw him. And, maybe being behind him was a little bit of an advantage, but I took it. And I was so happy to get my first Wally in my first final. And, this Wally goes out to JJ and little Brett, who both passed recently. And, I'm grateful that I'm able to do this, and I'm able to continue to race with my father, my family, support the NHRA, the top alcohol dragster class. And I'm just proud to be able to do this.
I'm looking up I'm on it right now for the Maple Grove. I know we still got time, but right now, the Pep Boys Nationals for top alcohol dragster only has 2 drivers. I don't know if you can see it, where it's Jackie Frick and Mike Hepp.
Well, I'll be on there soon, but don't you worry about it. It'll be a full field there at Maple Grove for sure.
Oh, I know that, yes. And we may have some Midwest people come out there. I don't know if they're coming out here this year, but I know before we've had, now she's retired, but she came back a few weeks ago. Megan Meyer,
yes.
Well, Megan Meyer Linger now. She raced here. She was runner-up 1 year to Troy Coughlin Jr., who just won in Pro Stock in Seattle.
Yep.
She raced here. I don't know if the Meyer Racing team is coming here.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
But I know that they have come here before. So there's a chance that they may, but we'll just see who shows up, and then you got to compete against them all.
I'm ready.
Before I close out here, Tom, there's a comment here from Kathleen Chef-Chick Dixon.
Yes. Wow. So Kathleen works for Annie Mac, and she's saying the Annie Mac Nation is proud of you. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to work for such a great company. I had an opportunity to speak with the owner, Joe, and he congratulated me personally on the victory. And Jason Leibowitz, who's in charge of the community mortgage team that I'm a part of, has shown me great support and love, and we're all families. So thank you for that comment and letting me know that you're watching. And I'm so proud to represent the Fox family, Annie Mac, Cash the Keys, all of my team, all of my family, all of my sponsors. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to share this with everybody else.
Your boss, was he there this weekend?
He was there on Friday, yes.
Okay. What does he think, if he hasn't seen you race before, what does he think about what you do?
He was absolutely blown away. He said he couldn't even imagine how loud and how fast and how powerful these cars are. And he said, I don't know how you do it, Tom, but it's not for me. He loved it and he enjoyed it and he was happy to share it with us. But he's like, there's no way that you would get me in that car. So, you know what, either you love it or you don't. But, it's something that you have to respect it. It's not like you have to fear it, but you got to respect it because, crazy things can happen at speed.
Yes, I agree. And I'm the type of person, like, some people have said to me for like the national events when we were at Reading, I'm going to say this and then we're going to wrap it up pretty soon. Some people have said to me in Reading, like when I used to take photos of the nitro cars going by me, like the Top Fuel Dragsters and the funny cars. Why would you do that? That is insane because you have the flames like right in front of your face. And I was like, well, this is what I love to do. If you don't like it, you don't like it.
Right.
Don't tell me what to do.
It's not for everybody. That's why they make different flavors of ice cream, right?
Yes, yes. Well, Tom, thank you for your time tonight. Like I said earlier, well, I'll say it again. Congrats on your win this past weekend at Atco Dragway. Good luck the rest of this season. I'll see you at Maple Grove. I'll be there Friday and Sunday. Unfortunately, I can't get out of this. I have to go to a family commitment on Saturday, so I have to be there.
Well, you can be there for qualifying on Friday and eliminations on Sunday.
Yes. So that works. But thanks again for your time. Good luck for the rest of the season. I'll see you at Maple Grove. For everyone listening, outside of being on Facebook and YouTube Live right now, this video will be uploaded to Rumble and BitChute in a few days. Also, it will be uploaded to Anchor.fm in a few days as well. Thanks again for your time tonight, Tom.
Thank you so much, Anthony. I look forward to seeing you at Maple Grove.
Same here.